Commander Razik Tovmar leaned forward in his command chair, his 7 eyes blinking in perfect sequence as he studied the holographic display. The mapping of this uncharted solar system was proceeding efficiently, just as he liked things. Efficiency, order, protocol. These weren't just guidelines in the Galactic Hegemony's 427th Exploration Battalion, they were sacred texts. "Sir," called out Navigator Plix from her station, her voice carrying that peculiar tone Rezik had learned meant trouble. "We are detecting an artificial structure on the 3rd planet." Rezik's dorsal spine stiffened slightly. "That's impossible. Our intelligence indicated this system was unpopulated." "Well, someone forgot to tell whoever built a massive orbital station around that blue marble," replied Plix, her tentacles flicking across her console with practiced precision. "And there's more. I'm picking up transmission signals. Lots of them." Lieutenant Dorax Gem, Rezik's second-in-command and a notorious pessimist even by Mrazovian standards, slithered closer. "Primitive or advanced?" "Difficult to say," Plix answered, her cranial ridges flushing a concerned purple. "The technology appears inconsistent. Some of it seems surprisingly sophisticated, while other aspects are laughably primitive." "Laughably primitive is still primitive," Razik declared, straightening his uniform with his primary manipulators, "and primitive means we follow First Contact Protocol Delta 9. Dorax made a sound somewhere between a snort and a gurgle. "You mean the surround them, impress them and add them to the hegemony's collection of servant species protocol. I prefer the official terminology technological uplift and cultural integration," Razik replied dryly. "Assemble the contact team. Full battle armor, but weapons set to non-lethal. We don't want a diplomatic incident. Like the one on Proxima Belnar, where you accidentally vaporized their religious leader because you thought their ceremonial staff was a weapon." Dorax asked, all 4 of his mouths forming what passed for a smirk in their species. "That was an unfortunate misunderstanding," Razik said stiffly. "And it was only their secondary religious leader." Dorix's upper eyes rolled dramatically. "I'm sure that made all the difference to them." "Just prepare the team," Razik snapped. "I want our best soldiers. This will be by the book." "The book that nobody actually reads," muttered Dorax as he moved away to comply. 3 standard hours later, Razik stood in the shuttle bay inspecting the contact team. 6 of his finest soldiers stood at attention, each encased in the gleaming exoskeletons that had struck fear into countless primitive species across 3 galactic arms. "Remember," he addressed them, pacing back and forth with his hands clasped behind his back, "we represent the might and majesty of the galactic hegemony. These primitives have never seen beings from beyond their world. The psychological impact of our appearance alone should ensure their immediate cooperation." "Unless they shoot first and ask questions later," commented Sergeant Kezavun, the team's demolitions expert. Her species, the Torlani, were known for their practicality and unfortunate tendency toward explosive solutions. "Intelligence analysis of their transmissions suggests they are a fractured species," Razik continued, ignoring her. "Multiple nations, multiple languages, technologically they are at development stage C7. They have achieved limited space travel but haven't expanded beyond their own system." "Easy pickings then," said Corporal Jazz, flexing his armored claws. The Vricolian was always eager for action, a trait Razik found both useful and concerning. "We are not picking anything," Razik corrected sharply. "This is a standard intertrend operation. We make contact, demonstrate our technological superiority, and invite them to join the hegemony as a protected species. And if they decline our generous offer," asked Medical Officer Tala Noor, the only luminary on the team. Her bioluminescent skin pulsed with skeptical patterns. Rizik's mandibles clicked in amusement. "They never decline, not once they understand the alternative." The shuttle journey to the planet's surface was uneventful. Though tension filled the cabin, most of the team had participated in first contact missions before, but there was always an element of unpredictability when dealing with new species. "Approaching designated landing zone," announced Pilot Grix, his scaled fingers dancing over the controls. "Sensors indicate a small settlement approximately 2 kilometers from our landing point. Population estimate about 500 individuals." "Perfect," said Razik. "Small enough to control the situation, large enough to spread the word after we leave." The shuttle touched down in a clearing, sending local wildlife scattering in panic. Rizik activated his atmospheric analysis unit and nodded with satisfaction when it indicated breathable air for his species. At least, some members of the team would still require their specialized atmosphere mixtures. Defensive formation Delta, he ordered as the shuttle's ramp descended. Keza, you take point. Tella, stay central. I want bio readings on whatever we encounter. The team spread out as they exited the shuttle. Weapons ready but not aimed, the local star's harsh light reflected off their armor, creating an intimidating display of technological might. The surrounding vegetation was unremarkable green photosynthetic organisms similar to those found on countless worlds. Movement ahead, Keza reported, her sensors sweeping the area. One lifeform approaching slowly. Just one? Razik questioned, surprise evident in his voice. Scan for others. Area is clear except for this single entity, confirmed Keza. It appears to be deliberately approaching alone. Curious, muttered Razik. Maintain formation. Through the foliage emerged a bipedal creature. It stood upright on two limbs, with two additional limbs hanging at its sides. The outer covering appeared to be artificial, some kind of protective fabric rather than natural armor or exoskeleton. The head was small and rounded, with facial features concentrated at the front, two forward-facing optical sensors, a central olfactory protuberance and a small opening that presumably served as both a communication apparatus and nutrient intake port. That's underwhelming, commented Jazz, his disappointment evident. The creature stopped about 20 meters away, seemingly studying them with its primitive optical units. Then to everyone's surprise it raised one upper limb and moved it back and forth in what appeared to be a greeting gesture. Translator active, Tala announced, adjusting her equipment, ready to process any vocalizations. The creature opened its communication orifice and produced a series of sounds. The translator hummed, processed, and then provided the interpretation through their comm units. Hello there. I'm guessing you folks aren't from around here? The casual nature of the greeting took Razik aback. There was no fear in the vocalization, no awe at their clearly superior technology. Just a simple greeting, as if encountering an alien species was an everyday occurrence. Identify yourself, native. Razik commanded, stepping forward and activating his armor's intimidation protocols. The external speakers amplified his voice to a booming level while light patterns designed to induce submission in primitive brains flashed across his armor. The creature's response was unexpected. It produced a series of rhythmic exhalations that the translator identified as laughter. Native, that's a bit presumptuous, don't you think? I mean, technically you are the visitors here, but sure. I will play along. Name's Jack Harlow. Human, resident of this little blue planet you are currently standing on, and you are… Razik blinked in confusion. This wasn't following the standard script at all. Primitives were supposed to cower, perhaps prostrate themselves, or at minimum show appropriate reverence. I am Commander Razik Tovmar of the Galactic Hegemony's 427th Exploration Battalion, he announced, keeping his voice stern. We have come to assess your species for potential integration into our collective. Integration, the human repeated, scratching at the fur on top of its head. That sounds suspiciously like a fancy word for conquest. We have a history with that sort of thing. Doesn't usually end well for the would-be conquerors. Keza moved her weapon slightly, the gesture subtle but clear. Razik signaled her to stand down with a quick hand motion. You misunderstand, Razik said, attempting to sound benevolent. The hegemony offers protection, technological advancement, and a place within the greatest civilization in the known universe, in exchange for certain contributions. Ah, said the human, nodding. So it's the give us your resources and we will let you live deal. Classic. Very original. Tala's bioluminescence flickered with surprise. Commander, I'm reading unusual physiological responses. This human shows no elevated stress hormones, no fear response. If anything, my readings indicate amusement. Impossible, snapped Razik. He turned his attention back to the human. Perhaps you fail to comprehend your situation. We represent a civilization thousands of years more advanced than yours. Our empire spans hundreds of star systems. We could reduce your entire settlement to ash with a single command. The human Jack nodded thoughtfully. Yeah, that would be pretty impressive. If we were still in the settlement. He gestured vaguely behind him. but we evacuated everyone as soon as our satellite spotted your ship entering the system. Rezik's confidence wavered slightly. Your species possesses orbital detection capabilities. Among other things, Jack replied with what the translator identified as a casual shrug, a movement of the upper appendages that indicated indifference. We are full of surprises. Commander, interrupted Dorax through the comlink, his voice tense. Our orbital scans are showing unusual activity. Multiple small craft are converging on your position. Military vessels, Rezik asked, his hand moving instinctively to his weapon. Unknown classification, Dorax replied. But they are moving with purpose. Jack smiled, revealing flat, surprisingly non-threatening teeth. Those would be my colleagues. Hope you don't mind, but when unknown vessels enter our airspace we tend to take notice. Standard procedure, you understand. You dare to threaten the hegemony? Jazz growled, his combat systems powering up with an audible whine. Threat? No, no, Jack said, raising his hands in what appeared to be a placating gesture. Just making introductions. Like you are doing. Although I have to say your introduction needs work. The whole "we are superior, bow before us" routine is a bit outdated, don't you think? Rezik's patience was wearing thin. Enough, you will take us to your leaders immediately. Well, that's complicated, Jack replied, scratching his head again. We don't really have a single leader. Different countries, different governments. It's all very disorganized, I'm afraid. One of our many charming quirks. A low rumble filled the air, and Rezik looked up to see several aircraft hovering above them, their designs unlike anything in the hegemony's extensive databases. What manner of propulsion do those craft utilize? Tala asked, her scientific curiosity temporarily overriding the tension of the moment. Honestly, I have no idea. Jack admitted cheerfully, I'm just a diplomat, not an engineer. They tell me where to go. I go there and talk to people, or in this case, non-people. A diplomat, Rezik repeated incredulously. Your species sent a mere diplomat to confront a potential invasion force. Well, we thought it would be rude to start with missiles, Jack explained, as if this were the most reasonable thing in the universe. Diplomatic solutions first, that's our motto. Some of the time anyway. When we are in a good mood. The craft above them began to descend, creating powerful downdrafts that whipped the surrounding vegetation into a frenzy. Commander, Keza warned, we are being surrounded. I count at least 12 craft, possibly more beyond sensor range. Impossible, muttered Rezik. Their technology shouldn't be capable of. Yeah. About that, Jack interrupted. We have had some, let's call them growth spurts in our technological development. Especially in the last few decades. We are quick learners. The first of the aircraft landed, its design sleek and predatory. A door slid open, revealing more humans. These ones dressed in what appeared to be combat gear. They carried weapons that Rezik's armor identified as primitive projectile launchers, kinetic weapons that fired solid ammunition, laughably outdated by hegemony standards. And yet there was something about their confident movements, their complete lack of fear in the face of supposedly superior beings, that sent an unfamiliar sensation crawling down Rezik's spinal column. Commander Rezik, Jack said, his tone suddenly more formal. Allow me to introduce General Ava Martinez of the United Earth Defense Force. A human female stepped forward, her bearing unmistakably military despite her species' physical limitations. Commander, she acknowledged with a curt nod. Welcome to Earth. I understand you are here to. What was it? Assess us for integration. That is correct, Rezik replied, struggling to maintain his authoritative demeanor. The galactic hegemony offers your species the opportunity to join our collective under our protection and guidance. General Martinez exchanged a look with Jack, and both humans displayed their teeth in what the translator identified as smiles, though the emotional content seemed more complex than simple pleasure. That's very generous, Martinez said. But before we discuss terms of this integration, perhaps you'd like to see a demonstration of what humanity has to offer the hegemony. A demonstration, Rezik repeated. Uncertain. Nothing elaborate, Jack assured him. Just a little show and tell. Martinez raised a small device and spoke into it. Control execute protocol Helios. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Dorax's panicked voice came through the comlink. Commander, our ship just lost all power. Every system is down, life support is on emergency backup only. Razik felt his blood run cold. That's impossible. No primitive EMP could penetrate our shields. Oh, it's not an EMP, Jack explained casually. More of a targeted energy disruption field. Temporarily rewrites the quantum states of certain energy pathways. Our scientists could explain it better, but essentially it puts your technology to sleep for a while. Don't worry, no permanent damage. You. Razik struggled to process this development. This is an act of war. Is it? Martinez asked, raising an eyebrow. Seems to me like you came to our planet uninvited, with the stated intention of subjugating our species. In diplomatic terms, I believe that's called getting off on the wrong foot. The hegemony will not stand for this, Jazz declared, raising his weapon despite it being currently non-functional. Put that down before you hurt yourself, Jack advised. Look. Let's start over. We are not interested in fighting the hegemony or anyone else. Earth has had enough wars of its own to last several lifetimes, but we are also not interested in being anyone's servants or subjects. What we are interested in, continued Martinez, is peaceful exchange, trade, cultural sharing, the normal things that civilized species do when they meet each other. Razik's mind raced. None of this matched any first contact scenario in his extensive training. The humans should be primitive, fearful, easy to intimidate. Instead, they had neutralized his ship and surrounded his team without firing a single shot. How? He finally managed to ask. How is your technology so advanced? Our intelligence indicated. Your intelligence is outdated, Jack said simply. Humanity has been busy, very, very busy. We have had some help too, but that's a longer story. Help? Tala questioned, her scientific curiosity piqued despite the situation. From whom? Jack and Martinez exchanged another look. That's a conversation for another time, Martinez said. Right now we need to establish some ground rules. First, Earth is not available for integration. Second, we are open to diplomatic relations with the hegemony provided those relations are based on mutual respect. Third, your ship will remain powered down until we have reached a preliminary understanding. Razik felt his authority and his mission slipping away. This was supposed to be a routine operation, another primitive species added to the hegemony's expanding roster of servant worlds. Instead, he found himself effectively captured by beings that by all accounts should have been cowering at his feet. And if I refuse these ground rules, he asked, trying to regain some semblance of control. Jack sighed. Then things get complicated. We send you and your team home with a polite but firm message for your superiors, and our official relationship with the hegemony begins on a sour note. Nobody wants that. I must consult with my superiors, Razik said stiffly. Of course, Martinez agreed. As soon as we have established basic protocols, we will restore communications to your vessel. In the meantime, we have prepared accommodation for you and your team. Consider yourselves honored guests rather than prisoners. That distinction is important to us. More human soldiers had emerged from the aircraft, forming a loose perimeter around Razik's team. Their weapons remains lowered but ready a clear message. This is most irregular, Tala commented quietly to Razik. Indeed, he replied, his mind still struggling to adapt to this unexpected turn of events. To the humans he said, very well. We will accompany you and discuss these protocols. Excellent, Jack exclaimed, clapping his hands together in what appeared to be a gesture of satisfaction. I was hoping we could avoid the whole tense standoff thing. Been there, done that. Got the commemorative t-shirt. T-shirt? Keza questioned. The translator struggling with the term. Figure of speech, Jack explained. You will get used to them. We have lots. As the humans led them toward one of the larger aircraft, Razik found himself re-examining everything he thought he knew about first contact procedures. The hegemony had encountered hundreds of species over its long history and none had ever responded like this. None had ever neutralized hegemony technology with such apparent ease, or displayed such confidence in the face of what should have been an intimidating show of force. These humans were different. And different, Razik was beginning to realize, could be dangerous. Commander, Jazz whispered as they walked. This is humiliating. We should fight, even without our technology. And achieve what? Exactly. Razik hissed back. They have disabled our ship, our weapons and potentially our communication with the hegemony. Strategic retreat and reassessment is our only logical option. I can't believe I'm saying this, Tala added, her voice low, but I find these humans fascinating. Their technological development doesn't match any known pattern. Save your scientific curiosity for a less precarious situation, Razik advised her. For now we observe, we learn and we adapt. As they boarded the human aircraft, Jack appeared beside Razik, that strange smile still on his face. You know, Commander, this is actually going better than most of our first contact scenarios predicted. How so? Razik couldn't help asking. Well, Jack replied, nobody's shooting yet. In our simulations there was almost always shooting by this point. Historically speaking, we are not great at peaceful first impressions. The aircraft's door closed behind them, and Razik felt it lift off with surprising smoothness. Through a viewport he watched his shuttle growing smaller as they ascended a hegemony vessel left abandoned on alien soil, an unprecedented situation. Where are you taking us? He asked, turning back to Jack. A secure facility designed specifically for extraterrestrial visitors, the human replied. Don't worry, we have made it as comfortable as possible for a variety of physiologies. We have been preparing for this day for quite some time. You anticipated contact with alien life. Jack's laugh echoed in the confined space. Commander, humanity has been obsessed with the idea of alien life since we first looked up at the stars. We have been sending signals into space for decades, hoping for a response. Though I have to say your approach to first contact leaves something to be desired in the hospitality department. The hegemony does not prioritize hospitality, Razik stated flatly. Clearly, Jack replied. But you might want to consider adding it to your list. Makes for smoother diplomatic relations. As the aircraft accelerated, Razik found himself wondering how his superiors would react to this failure. More importantly, how would the hegemony as a whole respond to a species that defied their established patterns of conquest, integration? Whatever happened next, one thing was certain, this mission had just become infinitely more complicated than a standard first contact procedure, and somehow watching the self-assured humans operate their surprisingly advanced technology, Razik couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of the complications. The human facility turned out to be surprisingly accommodating. Razik and his team were escorted to a spacious compound built into the side of a mountain, its entrance concealed by an advanced holographic system that even their hegemony sensors would have struggled to detect. Welcome to Nexus Point, Jack announced as they entered a large circular chamber. Our little home away from home for interstellar diplomacy. You built this entire facility on the mere possibility of alien contact? Razik asked, his 7 eyes taking in the impressive architecture. The ceiling soared at least 30 meters above them, with walkways spiraling around the perimeter at various levels. Humanity has always been optimistic about not being alone in the universe, Jack replied with a shrug. Some would say obsessively so. But yes, this place was constructed specifically for first contact scenarios. General Martinez had disappeared shortly after their arrival, leaving Jack to act as their guide and Razik suspected their warden. Though the humans maintained a veneer of hospitality, the commander wasn't fooled. The guards positioned discreetly at every exit were a clear indication of their status. I demand to speak with your planetary leadership, Razik stated firmly as they were shown to their quarters. Each room had been customized to accommodate different physiologies, a detail that both impressed and concerned him. How much did these humans know about galactic species? Jack leaned against the doorframe, that infuriating smile still on his face. As I mentioned earlier, Earth doesn't have a unified government. We have got about 19 or 5 recognized countries, each with their own leadership structure. Then who authorized this facility? Who speaks for your species in galactic matters? Razik demanded, frustration evident in the rapid clicking of his mandibles. That would be the United Earth Space Initiative, UESA for short. It's a coalition of nations that pooled resources for space exploration and, well, situations like this. Think of it as a specialized diplomatic body for extraterrestrial affairs. Tella, who had been quietly examining the room's environmental controls, looked up with interest. Your species managed to form a cooperative body specifically for space diplomacy despite lacking unified planetary governance. Fascinating. Necessity breeds innovation. Jack replied. We realized pretty quickly that showing up to a first contact situation with 20 different diplomatic teams squabbling over protocol would make a terrible first impression, so USA was born. And you are their representative? Razik asked skeptically. One of them. I specialize in crisis negotiation and cultural exchange. My colleagues handle the more technical aspects of interspecies relations. Jack straightened up. Speaking of which, your ship's senior officers have been contacted and informed of your situation. They have agreed to a temporary diplomatic standstill while we work things out. Razik's spine stiffened in alarm. You communicated with my vessel? How? Our systems were disabled. We restored limited functionality to your communication array. Jack explained casually, don't worry, your life support systems were never in danger. We are not monsters. You just selectively disabled a hegemony warship technology thousands of years beyond your supposed capabilities, and now you expect me to believe you are not a threat. Razik's voice rose with each word. Jack's expression grew more serious. Commander, if we wanted to be threatening, we would have opened with our planetary defense grid instead of sending a lone diplomat to say hello. The technology that disabled your ship is defensive, not offensive. A distinction without a difference. Razik snapped. Actually, the difference is quite significant, Jack countered. One is about protecting ourselves, the other about harming others. Earth has a long, bloody history of learning that difference the hard way. Before Razik could respond, a soft chime sounded throughout the facility. Ah, perfect timing, Jack said. His demeanor brightening again. The council is ready for you. Just you for now, Commander. Your team can rest and refresh themselves. I will not be separated from my security detail, Razik insisted. Jack's expression conveyed what the translator identified as amusement tinged with exasperation. Commander, with all due respect, your security detail is currently as threatening as a group of tourists without cameras. Besides, the Council has requested your presence specifically. Policymakers talking to policymakers, it's more efficient that way. Razik hesitated, his training battling with the reality of their situation. Finally he gave a curt nod. Very well. But I expect regular status reports from my team. Of course, Jack agreed readily. We have set up a local communication network for you, completely secure, I promise. As they walked through the facility's winding corridors, Razik observed the humans they passed. Most wore similar uniforms, though with subtle variations that presumably denoted rank or function. What struck him most was their complete lack of deference. In the hegemony, lower-ranked individuals would immediately yield passage to a commander, often with elaborate gestures of respect. These humans merely nodded or offered brief verbal acknowledgments before continuing with their tasks. Your species lacks proper hierarchical respect, he commented to Jack. We have hierarchy, Jack corrected. We just don't make a big show of it. Effectiveness over ceremony, at least in this facility. They arrived at a set of large doors that slid open silently as they approached. Beyond was a semicircular room dominated by a curved table where 5 humans sat waiting. Behind them a massive viewscreen displayed what appeared to be a real-time image of Razik's ship, surrounded by smaller Earth vessels. Commander Razik Tovmar, Jack announced formally, may I present the UAC Diplomatic Council. The human female at the center of the table rose. Her skin was darker than Jack's, and her hair was arranged in elaborate coils atop her head. Commander, I am Director Amara Okafor, head of the United Earth Space Initiative. These are my colleagues from our member nations. Razik gave the minimalist bow that hegemony protocol dictated for meetings with lesser species leadership. I speak with the full authority of the galactic hegemony in matters of first contact and integration. Yes. About that integration, said one of the male counselors, a stocky human with facial hair. We have some questions regarding what exactly that entails. The process is straightforward, Razik replied, falling back on his training. Your species would acknowledge hegemony authority, provide access to your planet's resources as required, and contribute a reasonable labor force for hegemony projects. In exchange, you would receive technological advancements, protection from hostile forces, and eventual limited representation within the hegemony's governance structure. A moment of silence followed this explanation, broken when Director Okafor cleared her throat. Commander, I'm going to be direct. What you are describing sounds remarkably like colonization, a practice humanity has painfully learned to reject. We have no interest in becoming a client state to your hegemony regardless of the technological incentives offered. You misunderstand, Ryzik insisted. The hegemony brings order and advancement to primitive. He caught himself, recalibrating his terminology, to developing species. Over 300 worlds have benefited from our guidance. And how many of those worlds had a choice in the matter? Asked another counselor, her features distinctly different from the others, with almond-shaped eyes and straight black hair. Ryzik blinked in confusion. Choice? The choice is between progress under hegemony guidance or stagnation in isolation. Jack, who had taken a position near the wall, made a sound that the translator identified as a suppressed laugh. Director Okafor leaned forward. Commander, let me be clear. Earth is not interested in integration as you have described it. We are, however, open to establishing diplomatic relations with the hegemony on equal footing. Trade, cultural exchange, mutual defense pacts, these are all possibilities we are willing to explore. Equal footing. Ryzik couldn't keep the incredulity from his voice. Your species has barely left its own planetary system. The hegemony has existed for millennia. We have terraformed dead worlds, harnessed the power of stars, created technologies your scientists cannot even comprehend. And yet, the bearded counselor interjected, our primitive technology managed to neutralize your advanced ship without firing a single shot. Curious, isn't it? Ryzik's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation he couldn't suppress. That anomaly will be studied and countered. The hegemony adapts to all threats. We don't want to be seen as a threat, Commander, Director Okafor said soothingly. That's precisely why we are having this conversation instead of escalating to military responses. We believe peaceful coexistence is possible, but it must be founded on mutual respect. Respect is earned, Ryzik countered. In galactic terms, your species is an infant. An infant that just put your battlecruiser in timeout, muttered Jack, earning him a sharp look from Director Okafor. Perhaps, she acknowledged, turning back to Ryzik, but even infants deserve basic dignity. What we are proposing is simple. We establish formal diplomatic channels between Earth and the hegemony. We exchange knowledge in a controlled, mutually beneficial manner. We define clear boundaries regarding our respective territories and interests. And most importantly, we agree that neither party will attempt to subjugate the other. Ryzik considered his options. The mission had clearly failed. These humans would not be intimidated into submission as so many species before them had been. Their technology, while inconsistent, included capabilities the hegemony had not encountered before, and now his ship and crew were effectively hostages. I do not have the authority to establish such relations, he said finally. My mission parameters were specific to standard integration procedures. Then perhaps it's time to contact your superiors with a situation update, suggested Director Okafor. We are prepared to open a direct communication channel to your government. The Supreme Council does not communicate directly with non-integrated species, Ryzik stated flatly. The bearded counselor leaned back in his chair. Then we appear to be at an impasse. Not necessarily, Jack interjected, stepping forward. Commander Ryzik could return to his ship with our proposed terms and convey them to his superiors through proper channels. As a show of good faith, we will restore full functionality to his vessel once he's aboard. Ryzik's eyes narrowed. And my team will remain as our guests, Director Okafor said smoothly. Not as hostages, but as a diplomatic delegation. We will provide them with every comfort and courtesy while we await the hegemony's response. That is unacceptable, Ryzik declared. Hegemony protocol forbids. Commander, Jack interrupted. Hegemony protocol was written for compliant species that roll over at the first sign of superior technology. That's not us. Never has been. Never will be. So we are improvising here, and I suggest you do the same. A tense silence filled the room. Ryzik's mind raced through scenarios, calculations, potential outcomes. None were favorable given the current power imbalance. Very well, he finally conceded. I will return to my vessel and report to my superiors. But be warned, the hegemony does not take kindly to resistance. If your species persists in this defiance, the response may be severe. Director Okafor's expression remained calm. "We understand the risks, Commander. We have prepared for them extensively, but we would genuinely prefer peaceful relations if possible." "I will convey your preference," Razik said stiffly. The meeting concluded shortly thereafter, with arrangements made for Razik's return to his ship the following day. As Jack escorted him back to his quarters, the human seemed unusually quiet. "You disapprove of your council's decision," Razik observed. Jack glanced at him. Surprised. "What makes you say that?" "Your species' facial expressions are not difficult to interpret. You believe allowing me to return to my ship is a tactical error." A small smile played across Jack's face. "I sometimes forget that being an alien doesn't make you unobservant. Yes, I have reservations. But not for the reasons you might think." "Explain," Razik demanded. Jack stopped walking, turning to face the commander fully. "I have studied thousands of historical first contact scenarios, fictional ones. Obviously, since you are our first actual extraterrestrial visitors, in almost every scenario where a technologically advanced civilization encounters a less advanced one, it ends badly for the less advanced group." "As it should," Razik stated. "It is the natural order of things." "That's where we disagree," Jack said quietly. "There's nothing natural about exploitation. It's a choice, and I'm concerned that your hegemony has been making that choice for a very long time without ever being challenged on it." "You think your species can challenge the hegemony?" Razik couldn't keep the derision from his voice. "Even with your unexpected technological surprises, you are one planet against hundreds." Jack's expression grew serious. "You are assuming we are alone." Razik's spine stiffened involuntarily. "Explain that statement immediately." "Let's just say that humanity has made some friends over the years, friends who have helped us prepare for this day." "Impossible," Razik hissed. "The hegemony monitors all interstellar travel in this sector. No contact with your world has been recorded." "The hegemony monitors what it can detect," Jack replied cryptically, "but that's a conversation for another time. For now let's focus on establishing peaceful relations, shall we?" Razik stared at the human, his mind whirling with implications. If Earth had indeed made contact with other species unknown to the hegemony, that would represent an unprecedented security breach. More importantly, it would explain their anomalous technological capabilities. "I will need to report this information," he said finally. "Of course," Jack agreed readily. "That's exactly what we are counting on." The following morning, Razik was escorted to a shuttle landing pad on the facility's roof. His team remained behind, their expressions ranging from concern to outright rebellion in Jazz's case. "I will return with instructions," Razik assured them. "Maintain protocol in my absence." "And if you don't return?" Keza asked bluntly. "Then follow contingency protocol Epsilon 7. He replied quietly. The self-termination protocol was a last resort, but standard procedure if capture by hostiles was prolonged. Jack stood nearby, pretending not to overhear their conversation. As Razik approached the waiting shuttle, the human stepped forward. "Safe travels, Commander. We will take good care of your team." "See that you do," Razik replied coldly. "For your own sake." The human escort aboard the shuttle maintained a professional distance during the short flight. Through the viewport, Razik could see his ship surrounded by Earth vessels that, while smaller, positioned themselves in a clearly tactical formation. As the shuttle docked with the hegemony cruiser, Razik felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. Relief to be back under hegemony control, apprehension about explaining this unprecedented mission failure to his superiors. Dorax was waiting in the docking bay, his four mouths set in grim lines. "Commander, welcome back. The humans have restored our systems as promised." "Status report," Razik demanded as they walked briskly toward the command center. "All systems functional. Though our databases show evidence of scanning during the outage, we are still assessing what information they may have accessed." Razik hissed in alarm. "They breached our security protocols." "Apparently," Dorax confirmed, "their technological capabilities are concerning." "More than you know," Razik muttered. "Prepare a secure channel to Hegemony Command. Priority Alpha." "Already done, sir. They are awaiting your report." The command center hummed with activity as crew members worked to analyze the humans' technology and restore normal operations. Razik took his position before the communication array, straightened his uniform, and activated the secure channel. The holographic image of Grand Strategist Vorn Mazak materialized before him, a towering figure of the Nexari species, with their characteristic crystalline exoskeleton and multiple sensory appendages. Even through a hologram, the Grand Strategist's presence was intimidating. "Commander Tovmar." The strategist's voice rumbled through the translation matrix. "Your mission parameters indicated a routine integration. Instead, I receive reports of disabled systems, detained personnel and diplomatic demands from primitives. Explain yourself." Rezik swallowed his pride and recounted the events in detail: the unexpected technological capabilities of the humans, their resistance to integration, the facility clearly designed for extraterrestrial contact, and most disturbingly Jack's implication of alien allies. The Grand Strategist listened in silence, his crystalline appendages occasionally shifting in what Rezik recognized as intense interest. "You believe these claims of outside assistance have merit?" Mazuzak asked when Rezik had finished. "The evidence supports the possibility," Rezik admitted reluctantly. "Their technology is inconsistent. Some aspects are primitive while others surpass even our capabilities in specific applications. Such a development pattern is indicative of borrowed or adapted technology rather than natural evolution." The Grand Strategist's image flickered as he accessed additional data. "Our records show no official contact with this system by any registered galactic power." "Which suggests unregistered powers, sir," Rezik pointed out. "A troubling prospect," Mazuzak agreed. "If rogue elements are providing advanced technology to primitive species, it threatens the entire integration system upon which the hegemony's expansion is built." "What are your orders regarding the human proposals, sir?" The Grand Strategist was silent for a long moment, his crystalline form shimmering as he processed the situation. "Your assessment of their military capabilities." "Limited but specialized," Rezik replied carefully. "Their planetary defenses appear focused on neutralizing rather than destroying. However, if they do indeed have outside assistance, their true capabilities may be considerably greater than observed." "And the detained team members?" "Being treated as diplomatic guests, according to the humans. No reports of mistreatment." Another long pause followed. Finally, the Grand Strategist spoke. "These developments require further analysis. You will agree to their diplomatic overtures provisionally. Establish a communication protocol and inform them that a proper diplomatic delegation will arrive within one standard cycle to begin formal negotiations." Rezik blinked in surprise. "Sir, standard protocol for resistance to integration is military response, not diplomacy." "Standard protocol assumes standard circumstances," Mazuzak replied sharply. "These circumstances are far from standard. If these humans have indeed made contact with unregistered galactic powers, we need to identify those powers before proceeding with any military action." "I understand, sir," Rezik said, though privately he was stunned by the deviation from established procedure. In his entire career he had never seen the hegemony respond to resistance with anything other than overwhelming force. "You will remain in orbit as our representative until the diplomatic delegation arrives," the Grand Strategist continued. "Gather all possible intelligence on their technology, particularly the methods used to disable our systems. And Commander." "Yes, sir?" "Do not underestimate these humans again. If they can surprise us once, they can do so again." The communication ended, leaving Rezik to contemplate this unexpected turn of events. The hegemony negotiating with a species that had defied integration. It was unprecedented. "Sir?" Dorax prompted from nearby. "Your order?" Rezik straightened, his decision made. "Prepare a communication to the human facility. Inform them that I will be returning to discuss preliminary diplomatic arrangements." "Diplomacy?" Dorax couldn't keep the shock from his voice. "With primitives who held our team hostage? With a species that has demonstrated capabilities beyond our intelligence assessments," Rezik corrected sharply. "And who potentially has allies unknown to the hegemony. This is no longer a standard integration mission, Lieutenant. This is something new." Hours later, Rezik found himself back in the human facility, seated across from Jack and Director Okafor in a smaller, more informal meeting room. "Your Grand Strategist response is encouraging," Okafor was saying. "We look forward to meeting your diplomatic delegation. Do not mistake caution for concession," Rezik warned. The hegemony is merely gathering more information before determining a final course of action. Jack leaned forward, his expression serious for once. Let's be honest here, Commander. Your superiors are worried about who's been helping us, aren't they? Rezek clicked his mandibles in irritation. The hegemony fears nothing, but unauthorized technology transfer to developing species is a serious matter. And if it wasn't unauthorized? Jack asked innocently. What if there are species within your hegemony who disagree with your methods of integration? Impossible, Rezek declared, though a flicker of uncertainty passed through him. The hegemony speaks with one voice on matters of expansion. Every empire believes that, Okafor observed quietly until the day they discover otherwise. Before Rezek could respond, the facility's alert system activated. A human officer rushed into the room, her expression urgent. Director, we have detected multiple unidentified craft entering the system. They are not hegemony vessels, and they are not responding to hails. Okafor was on her feet instantly. Configuration? Unknown, ma'am, but their approach vector suggests they are heading directly for this facility. Jack turned to Rezek, his expression suddenly hard. Are these friends of yours, Commander? A surprise attack while we are distracted with diplomacy. The hegemony does not engage in such dishonorable tactics, Rezek snapped, genuinely offended. Our diplomatic overture was sincere. The officer's communication device chimed. She listened briefly, then looked up in alarm. Director, the vessels are projecting a message. Audio only, in multiple Earth languages. Put it through, Okafor ordered. A voice filled the room, strange, multi-toned and yet somehow familiar to Rezek. People of Earth, and representatives of the galactic hegemony. We are the collective of free worlds. We come in peace, but with purpose. The time of hegemony expansion ends here. The time of freedom begins. Jack and Okafor exchanged glances that Rezek couldn't interpret. Friends of yours? He asked, echoing Jack's earlier question. Not exactly, Jack replied slowly. But not entirely strangers either. Director Okafor activated a communication panel. This is Director Amara Okafor of the United Earth Space Initiative. We acknowledge your message and request clarification of your intentions. The multi-toned voice responded immediately. Our intentions are simple, Director. We are here to ensure that Earth remains free from hegemony control by force if necessary. We are here to witness the beginning of a new era in galactic relations, one built on cooperation rather than subjugation. Rezek felt a chill run through his body. This is impossible. No coalition has ever successfully resisted the hegemony. Maybe it's time for that to change, Jack suggested quietly. The voice continued. Commander Rezek Tovmar of the 4027th Exploration Battalion, your superiors have been contacted by our representatives throughout the hegemony. A new agreement is being negotiated as we speak, one that will transform the hegemony from conquerors to true partners in galactic civilization. Preposterous. Rezek sputtered. The Supreme Council would never— The Supreme Council is currently surrounded by 200 warships from 30, formerly subjugated species. The voice interrupted. Their choice is simple, evolution or extinction. We believe they will choose wisely. Director Okafor's expression was carefully neutral. And Earth's role in this transformation. Earth will be recognized as a sovereign world, free to determine its own path in galactic society. Your technology, both developed and acquired, will remain your own. We ask only that you join us in ensuring that no species ever faces forced integration again. Jack turned to Rezek, whose mandibles hung slack with shock. You know, Commander, I almost feel sorry for you. It must be difficult to discover that the universe isn't what you thought it was. This is rebellion, Rezek managed to say. Treason against the natural order. No, Jack corrected gently, this is evolution. Just not the kind your hegemony expected. As if on cue, Rezek's personal communicator activated. The voice of Grand Strategist Mazek filled the small device, but different, somehow subdued, perhaps even humbled.
Commander Tovmar, new orders.
You are to stand down completely. Establish peaceful relations with Earth representatives as equals. The integration protocol is suspended. Indefinitely, further instructions will follow as the situation develops. The communication ended abruptly, leaving Rezek staring at the device in disbelief. Well, Director Okafor said into the silence that followed. It seems we have much to discuss, Commander. But perhaps under these new circumstances, we should begin with something simple. She extended her hand in what Razak now recognized as the human greeting gesture. Welcome to Earth, as our guest rather than our would-be conqueror. Razak looked at the offered hand, then at Jack's expectant face, then back to Okafor. With a reluctance born of millennia of hegemony tradition, he slowly reached out and completed the gesture. I accept your welcome, Director Okafor, he said formally, the words feeling strange in his mouth. Though I must warn you, the hegemony has existed for thousands of years. Change does not come easily to such an ancient institution. Jack laughed. The sound somehow both mocking and sympathetic. Trust me, Commander, if there's one constant in this universe, it's that everything changes eventually, even empires. Especially empires. As the humans began discussing arrangements for meeting the newly arrived collective representatives, Razak found himself staring out a viewport at the blue-green planet below. He had arrived expecting to add another primitive world to the hegemony's collection. Instead, he was witnessing what might be the beginning of the end for the only way of life he had ever known. And yet, strangely, he felt not despair but curiosity. What would a galaxy without hegemony domination look like? What possibilities might emerge from cooperation rather than subjugation? For the first time in his long career, Commander Razak Tavmar found himself facing a truly alien concept: change. The human Jack appeared beside him, following his gaze to the planet below. Beautiful, isn't it? Jack asked. Unexpected, Razak corrected. Everything about your world is unexpected. Jack's laugh echoed in the room once more. Commander, you have no idea how much we specialize in the unexpected. It's practically our species' motto. And for the first time since landing on this strange world surrounded by these confounding humans, Razak found himself believing that might actually be true.